In this video I'll be ranking every single Nightlord from easiest to hardest, including Everdark Sovereigns. I consider some normal Nightlords to be harder than Sovereigns, so the list isn't just going to be normal Nightlords then Sovereign Nightlords, it'll be a bit more mixed up. I'm not ranking the bosses on their solo difficulty, just how hard they are when you're doing trios with randoms, just because I think it's more fun that way. On this list here you can see how many times I've beaten every single Nightlord, so you can get a gauge of my experience, but this isn't how many times I've fought them, just how many times I've beat them. I'm definitely not the best player. I beat Everdark Libra 3 times, maybe out of 10 tries. Be sure to like the video, and with the introductions out of the way, let's get started with number 15. Probably to no one's surprise, I consider Gladius, Beast of Night, to be the weakest Nightlord. Gladius actually has a decent amount of HP at 33,000, although he has a very easy moveset to memorize and he doesn't do much damage. At times he'll split into 3 dogs, giving you 3 enemies to fight, but he's not very aggressive when doing so. Gladius is extremely weak to Holy and pretty weak to Bleed and Rot, and all of this combined makes him pretty easy to kill. And that's why Gladius, Beast of Night comes in at rank 15. It might surprise a few people that the second easiest Nightlord in my opinion is Everdark Sovereign Maris, but anyone that's fought it probably knows why. It's a goddamn scripted fight. The most difficult thing about Everdark Maris is how much it tests your patience. The first phase of Everdark Sovereign Augur only has 9,000 health and is really easy to kill. It'll then drop a legendary weapon with the weapon art Storm Ruler on it, and you have to fight Yorm from Dark Souls 3 again. The second phase of Everdark Augur has 88,000 health, so it takes a while to kill. All of its attacks are really easy to dodge, and there's very little skill involved in beating this boss, making it number 14 in my opinion. Normal Augur I find to be harder than the Everdark variant because it can actually do attacks that damage you. Well, sometimes it'll do attacks that damage you, but it's still a really easy boss. Augur has 38,000 health and resistance to pretty much every type of affinity, however it's extremely weak to lightning damage. Despite having far less health than its Everdark variant, I find normal Augur just has a lot more potential to kill you, and that's why I'm ranking it at 13 above its Everdark variant. I think a lot of people had the same experience with Libra their first time fighting it, feeling like it was extremely difficult and maybe the hardest Nightlord. However, after you get a little bit accustomed to Libra, you soon realise that that is really not the case. Libra's gimmick is he'll offer you an array of deals that can alter the course of the fight. I'm not going to explain every deal and transaction here, all I'm going to say is always accept every deal every single time no matter what. Libra seems really difficult at first because he deals a lot of damage with Madness procs and Holy damage. However, he is extremely weak to Holy, Poison, Scarlet Rot and especially Madness. After you damage Libra enough, he'll shield himself and create seals that you have to break, and if you don't break his shield in time, he'll go into his golden mode, which is how he deals so much damage. However, you can just break his shield with most physical ultimates, which will make him go into his rage mode and is much easier to kill that way. Libra has 39,000 health and can deal a lot of damage, but he also takes a lot of damage, which is why I'm putting him in at number 12. Gnoster is a bit of a weird one, especially when playing with a trio, as he's split into 2 different bosses really. Gnoster the Moth is better off being fought with ranged characters, and the Scorpion Fortis can really be fought with any type of character. They share the same health bar and have 36,000 health together, and they're weak to Fire, Scarlet Rot, Bleed and Frostbite. At around half health they'll come together and start doing a charge attack that can deal a lot of damage. Gnoster can just be a bit bothersome with its poison procs and constant magic AoE damage, so I'm ranking him here at number 11. Fulghor is similar to Libra in that he can be a bit intimidating the first time you fight him. He deals a lot of physical damage and you have to get used to jumping a lot of his attacks. Fulghor has 42,000 health, making him one of the tankiest Nightlords. However, he's extremely weak to lightning and it's really easy to proc almost any status effect on him. When he's charging up to do his holy attack thing, you just have to do enough damage to break him out of it. At around half health, he'll summon a big arm, which means a lot more AoE attacks. However, because he's so weak against so many different status ailments, he can deal a ton of damage easily. Once you learn how to fight Fulghor, you realise his moveset's pretty limited, and that's why I'm placing him here at number 10. Caligo, the Miasma of Night. Caligo is pretty tanky and has lots of frosty AoE attacks that can deal a lot of damage. However, if you get the blessing of the mountaintop, it'll make this fight even easier than it already is. He's extremely weak to fire, and that's a good way to negate his naturally high defense. I say he, but you know, I'm just generalizing. When you do enough damage, he'll do a massive ice AoE attack, but all you have to do is run up right next to him and you can just keep attacking him and you'll take no damage, and so that's pretty easy to deal with. Caligo really isn't very difficult, but in trios, experiences may vary. But due to its constant frostbite damage and high defense, I'm putting Caligo in at number 9. I don't know why I find the Everdark variant of Fulghor to be so easy. The Everdark variant comes out straight away in his second phase with his big arm, so there's a lot of big AoE attacks to dodge straight away. Sovereign Fulghor has around 53,000 health, giving him around 10,000 more than his normal version. However, he has a lot more big holy AoE attacks that can deal a ton of damage if you're not ready for them, including his light bow and his big light sword. However, he still has the same extreme weakness to pretty much every type of status ailment, which means you can get in a ton of damage and kill him really easy. So I'm ranking Everdark Fulghor at number 8. 7 is my favourite number, and Heolstor, who I just call Lester, is one of my favourite bosses. I'm putting him here at number 7 just because I think he can be a bit tricksy compared to like a couple of the Everdark Sovereigns. Some of his attacks are really fast and hard to telegraph, and he has 2 phases. His first phase has 14,000 health and can be pretty easy to deal with, however he can still deal a lot of physical damage. When you get into his second phase, he'll dart around the map doing massive AoE attacks. There are definitely some good opportunities to get damage in, but when you're playing trios, a lot of the time you're just running after him, which can make Wilder and his grappling hook quite useful. He can also change the affinity of his attacks multiple times a fight. Lester is probably the boss I've beaten the most though, so my perception of him might be a bit skewed. I've put him up here, but I do find him pretty easy. Regardless, Lester is rank 7. Coming in at rank number 6 is Adel, because I forgot to rank him earlier, and yeah, he's just kind of forgettable, and yeah, that's that. If he wasn't so forgettable, I probably would have put him like rank 13 or something. I don't know, he's easy, but who gives a shit about normal Adel? Adel has 39,000 health and is weak to everything ever. Who cares, let's move on. Everdark Caligo definitely has a few tricks up his sleeve. Like every other sovereign, he starts in his second phase flying around doing some bullshit. It has high physical defense and 50,000 health, and does a lot of nasty frostbite AoE attacks that are a lot worse than the original Caligo. However, he's extremely weak to fire and you can chain stagger him pretty easily. Once again, Everdark Caligo is a lot easier if you get the blessing of the mountaintop. But the most difficult thing about Everdark Caligo is just being able to see what the fuck he's actually doing. He's so big that you're just guessing what attack he's gonna do half the time, and his frostbite AoE breath attack can just wipe your whole team instantly, and that's why I'm putting Everdark Caligo here at Mambo number 5. Everdark Adel is a bit of an enigma because the page I'm using to find out their total HP is completely blank. However, I'd say it's 10,000 more than original Adel, making it around 49,000. Sovereign Adel can just deal a lot of damage really quickly and can be really aggressive. He'll come out doing massive lightning AoE straight away, and then will proceed to spend about half an hour just running around the map. However, the best way to deal with Everdark Adel is just be as aggressive as he is. Apparently poison will stop him right in his tracks, but I'm yet to see that. At around half HP, he'll summon a massive tornado, and you have to use spirit jumps to jump into the middle of it so you don't take constant AoE damage. And this forces you to fight him in very close proximity, and he can do it multiple times in a single fight. I think Everdark Adel can be somewhat hard to learn, so I'm placing him here at rank number 4. Everdark Gnoster is another weird one to rank because depending on the strategy you employ, he can be a lot easier or harder. In Everdark Gnoster's first phase, he'll have 20,000 health and combine a health bar with Furtus. However, in their second phase, Gnoster, Furtus and Animus all have 20,000 health each. Animus will take over the body of either Gnoster or Furtus. This in turn makes them a lot stronger, but also allows you to do direct damage to Animus. And whenever you kill either one of them, Animus will revive them, taking a lot of his health. And the goal of this fight is to kill Animus by continually killing either Gnoster or Furtus. Everdark Gnoster has a lot of magic attacks and physical attacks going on at the same time. It can deal a ton of damage and just generally be a bit of a grind. However, the easiest way to deal with Animus is just kill Furtus over and over and over again. But I just think there's a lot going on with this sovereign, so I'm ranking Gnoster, well, Everdark Gnoster, at rank number 3. Everdark Gladius is another one of my favourite bosses, and that's probably just because he's Lester crossed with original Gladius but way stronger. Everdark Gladius has 52,000 health and has definitely come a long way, being ranked number 2. He'll start off in his 3-dog phase as soon as the fight begins before returning to his 3-headed dog phase. He's really tanky and deals an insane amount more damage than his original variant. Also, he does Lester's big sword attack, which is really cool. I have a guide up on my channel right now if anybody is struggling with him. Be sure to check it out. A lot of his attacks are extremely similar to the original, they're just a lot bigger and deal way more damage. However, he's still extremely weak to Holy and it's pretty easy to proc rot and bleed on him. But I think Gladius is surprisingly difficult and I'm putting him here at rank number 2. Be sure to comment below how badly I've screwed up my list and tell me how you'd fix it. But we all knew what rank number 1 was gonna be, which is Everdark Libra, because what the fuck? He has 54,000 health and apparently he's weak to Holy, Poison, Scarlet Rot and Madness. But good luck actually hitting him because he's just gonna summon 8,000 Condemned constantly. The best way to deal with him is just to try and damage him as much as you possibly can, because you'll knock him out of his summoning mode into his rage mode. Because if you don't do that, his summoning knows no bounds and you'll just summon Condemned for forever and ever and ever and ever. You'll be fighting 12 Condemned while he's doing 8,000 AoE attacks and limiting where you can move. I have beaten Everdark Libra, but every single time it's felt like a fucking miracle. Be sure to like and subscribe for more content like this. I hope you enjoyed the video.